Well, what a World Cup it has been. And today we are going to pick the bones out of it. We're going to dissect it. We're going to find a reason why 5,000 people have left the channel in the last couple of days. You are watching The Great Cricketer. We're going to be doing a World Cup review, everything that's happened over the last 2 or so months. And TGC, of course, has been sponsored by cricket.com. You can download the cricket.com app from the App Store. And you know what? For one more time, I'm going to tell you to go and subscribe to their YouTube channel. You go into YouTube and search cricket.com/TV. But you know what? Do both. Download the cricket.com app and support them on YouTube as they'll be really the only ones covering the 5 T20I series, which started 15 minutes after the World Cup final. Pezza, obviously the team that we support sometimes won, so that's nice for us. It's bad for everyone else, of course, but you know, we're here to just think about the highs and lows, the peaks and troughs, the hills and valleys of Cricket World Cup 2023.
And let it be said as an initial asterisk, this is according to TGC. This is not the entirety of the World Cup, the entire review of every single thing that happened. Though I'm sure we'll be told in the comments of things that we missed. Can I kick off then? He goes with
by doing player ratings for every single player.
Ratings, like rating their houses. He goes, I actually want to start, if it's possible, within the confines of the World Cup, before the World Cup.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Good.
Just to annoy people, just to kick things off.
Yeah. Well, let's start from 2019, the final.
That's right. Okay, I want to start with WG Grace.
How bushy was the beard?
I want to start with...
And his pubes.
The series between Australia and India leading in to the World Cup. In particular, the moment where David Warner was batting right-handed. And we called it out, saying this is GOAT tier, God tier level foxing from Australia. Right. Warner was batting right-handed, and we warned everybody, this is foxing, ladies and gentlemen. So that's my number one thing. I mean, really, to kick off the World Cup, the first thought is the opening fixture, New Zealand versus England. The scenes that we were confronted with. Personally, I have no problem with the size of the crowd because I was watching one of the greatest things of all time, England getting dicked to start with and all the way through the World Cup through Devon Conway and co. You know, quite ironically, there are actually more people there at the beginning of that game than there were at the end of the last game of the World Cup. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And I'm sure that will be well received. It ended how it begun. Start as you wish to go on, etc., etc. Yeah, I mean, who could have predicted at that point? Well, you know what? You could have predicted that New Zealand will start the tournament well because we've seen them do that before. But who could have predicted what we were actually watching with England? I remember watching that game thinking like, nah, they've still got the players to figure it out. It's still good. They'll still win enough games. It's in there. It's white ball dynasty. It's revolutions. It's books. It's everything. It's books. Yeah. We were watching the beginning of the end. Exactly. The next thing he goes is Netherlands. The Netherlands, the Flying Dutchmen, the men after our hearts with the link to grade cricket, and in particular them knocking over South Africa, followed by their captain and vice captain appearing on this here show. That was a highlight. Within 24 hours, Scotty Edwards and Max O'Dowd, followed by Max revealing to the grade cricketer that the way these blokes pumped themselves up at the innings break against South Africa was for Logan Van Beek to come in and simply let his team know that they're nervous, we're calm. That's right. And so it proved. It proved. That was so red hot. I mean, at the time, South Africa had just dominated everyone on the back of dominating Australia in the last 3 ODIs of that 5 ODI series in South Africa. And like Australia in a game of the World Cup. Yeah, that's right. They'd already destroyed Australia. And then all of a sudden, just the fucking Dutch just got some runs on the board and it just all fucking capitulated. I know. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? At that point, they were looking like, oh, okay, can we sneak into the top 4 here? Can we do some stuff? The Dutch were a mathematical chance of the semis heading into the last game. One of the least probable things to have ever happened, but nevertheless, they were still a chance. Anyway, good luck. They might struggle to make the next World Cup. That's just some ICC stuff. All good. I want to then focus. They have a lot of trans people. Pardon? They have a lot of trans people, the Dutch. India versus Pakistan is the next one. Yeah, and of course. The spectacle that was. I mean, that was the hottest shit we've ever seen. It could only have been bettered if there was a different result in the final, but that was some seriously hot shit. Yeah. Stats and numbers guzzling every single Indian player. Yeah. Pakistan completely overawed. We can give him a couple of tips if needs be. Yeah. and India just doing them over in front of the entire world, 40 billion people watching.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
A couple of screens.
Just all the boys from Mars there tuning in as well. It was from hindsight. From memory, Pakistan were going okay, and then they lost like 8 for 20 or something, and then India just ran through them, and that momentum with the crowd behind them, the fucking roar. That's what that one was. That's when I think that was like the point where the World Cup sort of started for a lot of people.
Yep.
And also it was the beginning of this momentous, like the juggernaut that was India all the way up until the final, of course. But like at that moment, it was like, it was signposting all towards complete Asian-centric domination.
Totally. Pakistan all out 191. India gets it 3 down after 30 overs. Jasprit Bumrah, man of the match with 2 for 19. I recall that he was simply unplayable in this game.
Yep.
Babar Azam did make 50, looking at it now. Rohit 86 off 63, Shreyas 53 off 62.
Do you know what? As hot as that crowd was for that game, the best crowd of the entire tournament was Eden Gardens in South Africa.
Yeah,
that was better.
That was hot as in the round robin games. Of course, the only time they played. Yeah, that was, man. Well, when the cup made its way to Kolkata, that started to build it up a little bit as well, and give it a little bit of like, oomph and heft and credibility. I think we've learnt in Australia a little bit about like the traditional classic cricket centres of India, and every time the World Cup visited those places, it felt like it did go to another level. Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata. I appreciate World Cups have to travel around the country, and there's all sorts of other factors at play as to where games get scheduled, but it was always very cool when the games were there.
India travelled more than any other team in the World Cup, so they went all over the place. But a lot of people I've seen a lot of people. Or it just feels like a lot, but of course that's just a population thing. Say that like they would have liked to see them final in Mumbai, Chennai, the major metropolises of India as opposed to Ahmedabad. But that's just one man's opinion.
The next thing,
crow's feet.
Afghanistan besting England, followed by blow-ups deluxe from the statistic aristocracy,
the hegemony,
the statistical hegemony of online nonsense. Upset that it was referred to as an upset. Now maybe they were right, given where Afghanistan finished and how shit England turned out to be.
Yeah, it's sort of a double-edged story. And store and store.
Double-edged store.
It's a double-edged store.
18 plus only. Edging.
Where this was like, Afghanistan are here to play cricket. And this is where we got told by a lot of people, Afghanistan are actually a pretty good team. But it was also, that was the first game where I was like, England's actually in trouble.
Yeah.
I still thought that they could figure it out. And in the end, England finished like 6th. They're only like 2 wins away from equaling New Zealand and probably getting in through run rate. But they didn't. They lost those games. But
they were knocked out by Australia, once again adding to the perfection of this World Cup for our own country. Didn't even mention that on the pod yesterday, just how shit England were besting India in the final. But we also knocked England out.
Yeah.
We knocked
it was actually the perfect World Cup. I mean, they beat New Zealand in a close game. They knocked out England. They did what they do to South Africa all the time, despite having a shocking record against them otherwise, and then beat the host nation. Anyway, it's not about us.
As one Indian comic put it to us on WhatsApp this morning, all 58 of us have been cheering.
To be fair, 58 people is actually half the country. So, but this game against Afghanistan, this was when I was first like, England are actually in trouble. Because, they lost some other games. They beaten Bangladesh well. Darwin Milan scored a good 100. They lost to the Kiwis. That can happen. But, it was this game I was like, fuck, it's here. And then like Afghanistan get their moment, and it was awesome. How the fuck did Afghanistan lose to Bangladesh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so let's just go further into England's exit itself. My favourite part of England's exit from this World Cup as defending champions, Bazball, Revolution, the greatest people to do anything, great innovators, or whatever they tell you, was us filming in Sydney after a charity gig that we'd done, where we were pouring over the dying embers of England's campaign after being absolutely hammered by South Africa. Sitting there in Sydney, discussing the game on a brilliant Sydney spring morning with the hue of the light that we miss so much from home, and the greenery of Hyde Park behind us with the vista of the city and Centre Point Tower. Just two guys with a microphone at 9 a.m. About 2/3 of the way into the review, and then a woman walked up and commandeered the camera, telling us about devil worship and the existence of devils in society in general, and whether or not we were part of it. And I felt that was quite.
It was symbolic.
It was quite. It was emblematic.
It was emblematic. Yeah,
because Sydney.
I think she was staring at us. You could see out the corner of an eye. I think I said to her, "England's out of the cup," and she said, "Devil worshippers."
We agreed. Heathens, Satanists, and heathens. Yeah. That's probably one of my favourite parts of the World Cup.
Definitely a highlight.
All right, let's move into just getting deeper into the tournament.
Okay.
Now he goes. Maxi versus Afghanistan.
Well, this is for many people. I mean, I've actually watched these highlights.
It's actually the greatest moment of all World Cups, really, for me.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched those highlights more than I've watched the final highlights. Yeah, because it was something that I'd never quite seen before. I mean, it was actually something that no one's ever seen before. A guy who couldn't move. He had full body cramps. We learnt later he went full salmon.
Yeah.
And of course, you never go full salmon.
Yes.
It was all the skills you've ever seen from a guy who was stuck behind a tree on the back nine of a golf course, 7-iron in hand, thinking, how am I going to use some artistry here? And it was power. It was unbelievable. It was enhanced by Pat Cummins, a non-strikers, and who got 12 off 68, I think it might have been, who was basically standing behind the umpire because there was no running between the wickets. It was hilarious. It was hilarious and the highest of high skill. It was, as you put it so perfectly, it was his magnum opus, Glenn Maxwell. For everything he could have been, he was in that moment. Fucking perfect. And it was hilarious.
And imagine if you were an Afghan watching that, and the amount of work and the triumph of the story of those players against the backdrop of their nation, with the upbringings a lot of them will have, and the sheer violent disparity in resources between both countries from cradle to grave, to be so close to have the greatest international World Cup team 91 for 7. You can touch the semi-finals only for Forrest Gump polio boy to decide that he wants to whack a few
in leg braces
while the captain stands at the other end laughing.
In the context as well.
So unfair.
In the context as well of Naveen's Instagram stories being like, well, are a Cricket Australia going to want to play against us now? They've put 290 on the board. They've got us 7 for 91. And they're thinking, we are going to fuck you so hard. Our first ever win against you when you didn't want to play us.
Yeah.
You didn't want to play us.
And fair enough. They were moments away from one of the most satisfying, morally satisfying victories over the way Afghanistan had been treated quite cynically by Cricket Australia in terms of avoiding a bilateral on supposed ethical terms. Again, only for, basically Jimmy from South Park to just start swiping across the line for 204 red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They must have felt that Cricket Australia was treating them the way they treat their women.
Now, the next one. Kohli runs.
No one's watching this anyway.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. That's right. I think he's player of the tournament. He was... it has to be noted in any review of the World Cup. He was utterly impregnable. Yeah. He every single innings, he looked like he would never get out.
Has 11 innings, 9 scores over 50.
Yeah. So
what the fuck is that?
So he achieved inevitability whenever he batted.
Yep.
We know that he has just the unyielding respect of all players around the world. He is the best bat in the world. He will, and he didn't need it this tournament, but he's a living legend that should be appreciated every time he goes out to play. I've never seen anything matching the purity across formats of this guy, and it wasn't too long ago that there was discussions about his tenability in the side with a very, very long period of being unable to put scores like these together, and that is a distant memory now. We've had another act from Kohli. And you know what's important about this as well? His test average has been down for the last couple of years, and that is pure BCCI meddling with home decks. And it has helped the Indian team to put together decks that have assisted their spinners. But one of the corollaries of it has been you don't get to see the best of their bats because they're playing on a lot of really difficult decks that some people may call shit tips, not me. I'll just reference that, though, as a footnote that someone else said. So it was nice for him to play on a few truer decks at home just to see what the guy is capable of because he was basically unstoppable. Every innings he came in, irrespective of the surface, he was able to just tick away to run a ball, turn it up, turn it down, bend the game to his will.
It's part of the heartbreak of the nation, I'm sure, that like they have this more than a generational player. I mean, just one of the greats to have
He's
ever
a legend.
done it. He's one of the greats to have ever
legend.
Fucking picked up a cricket bat. And, you know, I just in my head, just in recent times, since the final, just seen that footage of Modi come into the dressing room and like shake the guy's hands, and it's like it's actually it's cringe.
Well,
for a start.
it's on your t-shirt. What it is,
it's absolute crow's feet, and it's like, and I felt his pain because like how much. Even speak to the Aussie guys what they feel about Virat. They actually lots of them like get along with him really well. I say that surprisingly because I feel like a lot of people think that he's not a good bloke, but it's actually not the case according to the players. So,
well, it's just an Australian thing because he goes hard in the paint on the field, but he's a serene guy off. Yeah,
great point. So, you know, I felt for him in that moment where like he's having to run a PR exercise on the back of like this was his tournament in every capacity.
This was shooter's torn,
even though he wasn't the captain, Rohit was. You know, just his performances were just simply remarkable. The hundreds, the 50s, the vibes, the dancing. There was so much happiness. And then I look at that moment in the dressing room, and it's like that level of pain is permeated through the entire country. So ended poorly for the great man.
The next one, he goes, Angelo Matthews timed out. One of the great moments of the World Cup. Just everything that it throws up. I can't even remember what I think about it anymore. Not only the moment itself, it's nonsense getting their stopwatches out the next morning to actually time it themselves. You heard that one bloke doing that. It's every opportunity that it throws up. You know, the discussions that it throws up, the nebulous spirit of cricket chat. It's Alan Donald coaching Bangladesh or the bowling coach saying, "Well, I'm out of here." Basically, it's the board wanting him to explain it to them directly. He said, "No, I made my comments in the media, all good." It's Shakib Al Hassan's face, which I'm kind of cool with. You know, from a distance. It really was grade cricket wheelhouse. Just a reminder that however you want to package cricket, however cool you want to make it look, there is just all sorts of opportunity for shithousery, noncery, piggery, and as long as those things are in in orbit together, then Bob's your uncle and I'm happy.
Who would have thought from that moment, two things, when Angelo Matthews was timed out, who would have thought that Alan Donald would have lost his job and Sri Lanka wouldn't be allowed to play cricket anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
Although I read this
Alan Donald just walked away. See you later.
I read this morning that they're back in Sri Lanka, so
okay.
Yeah, good news.
Yeah.
Good band.
Kind of like John Candy and Cool Runnings. We're back in. I just got a phone.
Should we take this moment, Pezzo, to explain what we're wearing at the moment? Just give a little shout.
Oh, yeah.
There is a new line of merchandise that TJC is running. I'm wearing the crow's feet today. Pez is wearing the Get It For You Today Didja. There's Wasted Saturdays caps. I'm wearing a TJC cap right now as well. We are not releasing that right now, but by the time you watch this, perhaps 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Time, you will be able to get it. So follow our social media. Go to our website if you want to follow there as well. But follow the socials and you can pick up one of these bad boys yourselves if you think that it's looking pretty good.
He goes, the last cricket one is the bin lid, finally. Coming into the tournament halfway through, commencing with one of the most brutal, scintillating hundreds I've ever seen on, yes, an agreeable Dharamshala deck. Yes. But again, just to do that in the middle of the tournament at a time when his country needed him most, there's scarcely a better player to watch in cricket or more exciting player to watch in cricket, and hasn't been probably for the last year.
Great
show. If not longer, to then carry his team through the semis and the final, where that is where the cream dream rises to the top. The big boys get going, get the chest out, start thumping and pumping.
Yep.
And he was pumping around that semi and that final, not just with the bat, but with the ball and with the mitts.
Yeah.
Where he takes the
what a tournament.
Mate, unbelievable tournament. Saw him this morning. He's enjoying himself, and he's got to play. He's got to open the batting. He's got to open the batting in about 36 hours. So that could be anything. But and well, he should enjoy himself.
Fuck yeah.
It's actually difficult to comprehend how someone like Travis Head. I think someone described him as something like a Missouri man who's just been caught for an amusing crime, or something like that. Right. Dominating this World Cup and basically saying this is mine.
Right.
So I just wanted to shout out to the bin lid.
Oh yeah, I mean in many ways it's his tournament. There was two guys who came in halfway through the tournament, Shami and Travis Head, who basically lit it up for both sides.
Yep.
Shami finishes leading wicket taker, 24 wickets, but Travis Head, mitts, digits, blade.
Yeah.
Mitts, digits, stick.
Yeah.
What a fucking tournament for the bin lid.
Yeah.
And, obviously everything ladders up now to the IPL. And I know it's probably a little bit too soon for people to say, well, Travis Head should actually never be allowed in the country again. But I reckon that one of the 10 franchises might have a look at Travis Head.
Where do you want to see him in the IPL? Like what Guernsey? There's a lot of Guernseys I'm happy to see him in. Some I'm probably not. I don't want to say. But I'd like to see him at I'd like to see him at an establishment classic franchise. Like I don't want to see him on the outskirts of the IPL.
I know what you mean.
But that's where they tend to end up. Like the teams, the franchises that have the biggest purse.
I can see him at RCB. I'm thinking about opening.
He's been at RCB before.
Has he? Okay.
Yeah, 2017. The story going around is another. Maybe people in India know this anyway, but they're not watching. That he was such a reserve that they used to use him as a decoy at dinner to distract journalists who wanted to get a picture of AB de Villiers. So Head would make a big scene about leaving, and AB de Villiers would slip out the back because they somehow sort of look the same. I think that's one of those ones. It's like people saying we look like certain people as well, but even worse.
That's right. Yeah. White people do look all the same, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree.
Sometimes I think I'm you.
I wish.
Yeah, so I can see him there. I'm just thinking about opening bat. Like at Chennai, for instance, it's Gaikwad and Conway. Well, that's going nowhere. You know what I mean? So I'm
yeah. They don't need an opener.
They don't need it.
Yeah,
they don't need it.
I mean, what about Travis Head opening the batting with Rohit Sharma? Holy hell!
A couple of Aussies then, like him out, Cam Green, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, who currently opens with Rohit? Ishan Kishan? Would that be about right?
No, Ishan bats middle order, I think. I don't know. It's too much to think about.
We tell. Yeah, I'm just saying, I mean, Virat opens a batting for RCB with Faf. I mean, they look pretty set. Oh, wait.
Yeah, no, Faf's. Yeah, Faf's
Faf's RCB.
Yeah. Because he was at Chennai, of course, yeah.
Yep, cool. Space IPL show. I just remind people that we do the IPL.
Yep.
And we can all be friends there. So, yeah, and look, I want to shout out to Adam Zampa as well, because there is no semis or final without Zorba. There's not, like, he carried the team for the entire tournament.
Yep.
Adam Zampa. And he was playing injured because they had no one else. He basically saved the asses of the entire team and carried them. As
per his Instagram story this morning, one spinner, one winner, wearing a half buttoned up dress shirt and biting his winner's medal. So, as if it was chocolate.
He was doing way worse than that on the phone this morning. And he goes, though we can't play this song to people's disappointment, can we please shout out to finish off this very thorough and comprehensive World Cup review?
People will be pleased with this.
With no doubt the star of the tournament from a TGC perspective, and that is Stat Dog.
Who better? Don't be your favourite.
He's a good little boy. I want to finish with some stats.
That was an abridged version.
As a way to thank the audience, lady and gentlemen. Our World Cup Morning Glory, Higgins, garnered 13 million plays throughout this World Cup on YouTube, with our podcast thrown in there as well.
Feels like a lot.
It garnered 420,000 likes, 21,000 comments, 1.1 million watch hours, 114.8 million impressions, and 47,000 subscribers throughout the tournament. Let's call that 50K.
I think it was 50.
It probably was 50K before the final.
Yeah. So if you want to get those numbers back up and you aren't watching, you made it to the end, just get those numbers back for us. Click subscribe.
On socials, 45 million plays and 1 million likes. And I think that's a great segue to express a deep, solemn, earnest, heartfelt thanks to everybody who tuned in and supported the show, particularly those who are aware that we can be ribald and baldy, at least one of us, and bailed. And bailed. Gareth Bale, yeah.
According to one of my DMs.
Juve got Gareth Bale in the Champions League final there. But
just cutting in from the right. Yeah. Putting it top bin.
That's right. I'm actually bailing water out of my old bucket there. But those who are aware that there are a few levels going on, it's all love from us, really. Particularly the Indian audience, who makes up the majority of our YouTube audience, have given us a lot of energy and a lot of encouragement throughout the tournament. And I think that if you watch TJC long enough, you understand that, of course we love our team doing well, and there are greater views to be had if our team does not do well. But really, we're just trying to narrate the game in a way that is authentic to us and our experience of cricket, and that, around the world, people have shown through this World Cup that they're prepared to get on board with it, and they like the lens that we put over the top of it. There's heaps of other ways that you can consume your cricket as well, which is awesome. But this World Cup has been really special for us because it's given us an opportunity to narrate cricket the way that we like to do it, and we've been really rewarded with your support of us. So it's a massive thanks to you, those numbers that we read out via the segment that we call Stat Dog.
Thank you so much for joining us over the past couple of months, I suppose. There is so much happening on the channel to come. There's obviously the Australian summer. We will not be doing the 5 T20Is against the 2 finalists in the World Cup, because we, like the players, will be getting drunk for the next couple of weeks. There is the India and England Test Series at the end of January. That's after we're doing the Australia-Pakistan, Australia-West Indies Test Series. Then Australia goes to New Zealand in February. There's a 5 Test match series, India and England, that goes all the way till March.
We'll be doing that.
And then there's, of course, there's the IPL, and then we'll be in we're doing the US and the West Indies T20 World Cup in about 6 or 7 months' time. So there's so much here on the channel. So please do click subscribe if you've enjoyed our stuff. Thank you to cricket.com for supporting us over the last 6 months or so.
If you want to get on board with TGC for the next few series as well, shout out hello@gradecricketer.com. Can point you in the right direction there as well.
Thank you as always. We'll see you guys on the internet real soon. Cheers.